just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
These nuts. Ha! Got him! Ha! Got him!
Planet Dolan.
From accidentally firing a gun to a dim-witted pair of fragrance thieves, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about the most annoying thing we've ever seen a customer do. I'm Hellbent, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by Don't Cry Craft. The worst family Melissa ever served was a mother, dad, older sister, her boyfriend, and younger sister. As soon as Melissa sat them down, the boyfriend demanded, "Give me some bread!" As soon as Melissa walked away, the mother got up, slapped a hand on her shoulder, and spun her around. She asked Melissa, "What on the menu can we have very quickly? My youngest is starving." Later, as Melissa was stacking the plates, the youngest sister clicked her fingers and said, "Clean it now," pointing at the mess she made. After that, the youngest sister resorted to holding her glass in the air when she wanted water, even though the bottle was right in front of her. When the final dish was laid, the older sister had been silent the entire time, put down her rhinestone-encrusted iPhone, and burst into tears. Melissa was then barged out of the way by the mother, who ran around to the oldest daughter, cradled her head, and stroked her hair. There, don't worry, the food will be here soon." Melissa had to ask them to leave. Number 9 was submitted by The Answer's Always Guns. When Kyle worked at a gun store in Indiana, he was cleaning some bolt-action guns when a man walked in. He looked around and asked Kyle if he could recommend him a handgun for self-defense. He said he'd never shot a gun before, so Kyle gave him the safety rules for firearms, such as treat every gun as if it's loaded. Kyle then took him to the range so he could practice. He decided to buy the gun and so removed the half-full magazine. He then attempted to shoot the empty weapon at the wall. They had removed their hearing protection, so all Kyle could hear was When you remove a magazine from a gun, there's still a bullet in the chamber. They keep that hole in the wall as a reminder to clear the chamber of every firearm. Number 8 was submitted by Crafty Ragamuffin. When Emoji worked at a bakery, a woman with about 7 kids came in. While she spent ages deciding on what to buy, her kids bounced around and bothered the other customers. She finally settled on a cheese and bacon pastry for herself and several plain sausages for her kids. The family sat outside. The mother checked her phone while her kids threw sausages all over the place, spread them all over the windows, and screamed at each other. Finally, she came back in with the pastry with a single bite taken out of it and thrust it at Emoji, exclaiming loudly that it had gone dry. It was only as Emoji was washing the greasy sausage marks off the window that she realized that she hadn't even paid. Number 7 was submitted by Boomy! Zara Gamba once worked as a lifeguard at a water park with a wave pool. One day, someone brought a tube into the pool, which is allowed, along with the lunch they packed that day. Zara Gamba kept whistling to him, and he had the guard in the pool tell the man that he had to leave the water with his food. Every time Zora told him to leave the pool, he looked. He even ignored the other guard. When he ended up choking on his lunch, the pool guard saved him, pulling him out of the water and giving him the Heimlich. After saving his life, he got upset with them because they let the rest of his sandwich fall into the water. "It's just a little chlorine. I'm sure it's fine." Number 6 was submitted by Trishiness. When Ladybot worked for a very small local internet provider, she often helped set up email for people. Usually older folks. One day, a couple came and sat down at her desk. A man in his 80s and his wife who was maybe in her late 40s. The man was there to set up a new email. His first demand was that he wanted his email address to only be 2 characters long before the domain. Ladybot told him that that was fine, but the username had to be at least 3 characters. The old man started throwing a fit. His child bride wife then started screaming at him.
"Honey, you're still getting the email you want!"
He responded, "Will you shut the hell up, one? I told you to stay in the car!" Finally, the wife won and they moved on to the password. His wife started again. If you want the email, you have to give the lady a password. By this stage, the entire office could hear the couple swearing at each other. Eventually, they came up with a password and wrote it down so he'd remember. His wife took it and put it in her checkbook. How am I supposed to remember the password if you take it from me? When they finally left, Ladybot's coworkers started spraying air freshener everywhere. Because of her fan, Ladybot hadn't noticed the man's scent. It smelled like old man cologne in a colostomy bag. Number 5 was submitted by Shaken Bakey. Pandora worked at a hotel for a few years as the front desk agent. When this lady who looked to be in her early 30s came into the lobby, she apologized for the loud argument her and her mother had the night before. Despite not working the night before, Pandora accepted the apology, to which the woman responded by recounting the whole argument in excessive detail, rambling on for 45 minutes. Eventually, her dinner came, and the lady said she'd grab a cup of tea so Pandora could eat, as employees aren't supposed to eat at the front desk. She brought her food to the staff room, then came out to check to see if the lobby was empty, only to find the same lady on the guest computer. So Pandora had to stand there and wait patiently for this woman to leave. After attempting to turn off cookies on her browser, she told Pandora a long-winded story about how she was a victim of identity fraud, only stopping to order a pizza. 30 minutes later, the pizza came. She took it out of the box, then placed it on the floor and used the guest computer for another hour. She finally left with her cold pizza and tea in hand. Pandora went to the staff room to eat her burger and fries, only to find out that they were both cold. Starving, she ate them anyway, only to get food poisoning the next day. Number 4 was submitted by Meme Lord Bat Groot. Legna was at a grocery store once and saw a woman with a 5-year-old kid in her cart, reaching up to grab some paper towels on the top shelf. She just couldn't quite reach them. A man then walked by, stopped, and reached up for the towels. Instead of handing them to the woman like Legna thought he would, he just put them in his cart and walked away, like nothing had happened. The woman just stood there for a second, wondering why the man was so rude. They went their separate ways, and he's never seen either of them again. Number 3 was submitted by Never Did Anything. When Snoopy worked at Kohl's, she was in charge of clearing out the fitting rooms. One day, a customer came out of the rooms with their daughters. The mom remarked to them loud enough for Snoopy to hear,
Remember, girls, stay in school. You'll become a failure like this lady.
Snoopy immediately responded, Miss, I have a high school diploma from one of the best schools in the country, and I'm studying to be a nurse. If anyone's a failure, it's you for telling your daughters that if they work their way through college, it's not good enough. The lady had nothing to say and walked off with her daughters in tow. Number 2 was submitted by Never Did Anything. Again, cool. Gooby once worked at a makeup store that stocked a lot of fragrances. One slow night, they had a couple come into the store. 10 minutes later, one of the light-sensitive security sensors went off, activated by the girl's purse. Gooby's manager, who doesn't take shit from anyone, immediately walked up to her and grabbed the girl's purse. He took it over to the register while the girl screamed,
My baby stuff is in there. Give it back.
These girl voices are gonna fucking kill me. When he turned the purse upside down, about 8 fragrances fell out, about $600 worth altogether. The girl said,
Okay, you got your shit. Can I just have my bag back now?
The manager looked at them and told them to leave the store. Once they were out, he threw the purse after them, shouting, Go fetch! He called the police, who arrived about 10 minutes later. Gooby had just gotten off work and spotted the patrol car shaking. She looked in the window and saw the couple handcuffed in the back of the car. Turned out they'd waited in the parking lot for an Uber to pick them up. What's the most annoying thing I've ever seen a customer do? During my first job at a certain video game store, I handled myself pretty well. When a customer is trying to be annoying or trying to be loud and rude, it's really easy to ignore that because you know that they're trying to do that to you. The only time it really got to me was with a certain special customer who just didn't know what he was doing. There was a mentally handicapped boy whose caretaker would just leave him at the mall for hours on end, so he liked to go into the GameStop and look at the boxes and pick a game to take home. Rampantly abusing the return system, by the way, but hey, he was a little bit special in the head, so we let him get away with it because it was causing no harm. One day, he looked behind the glass display case and saw a game that he really wanted, but his caretaker took him away and he didn't have enough time to get it. The next week, he came back to the store really eager to get his hands on that game. Lucky for him, I remembered the game that he wanted, so I checked the computer to see what stock we had, and we didn't have any more copies. After I told him this, he got pretty sad and started pointing at the glass counter saying, "No, it's in there. No, it's right in there." I knew it wasn't in there, but I figured what's the harm in looking, so I looked through each display case multiple times and told him it's just not there, man, I can't find it. He insisted I was wrong, telling me, "No, it's right there, I'm looking at it right, it's right there, it's there." And again, I felt bad for the guy, so I pulled out each of the shelves in the glass container, put them up on the counter, and told him to pick out the game that he wanted. After about 5 minutes of looking at all the games displayed across the counter, he started pointing inside of the counter again, going, "No, I want that one in there." And there was nothing in there, it was an empty container. Now you gotta understand, I knew this kid, I had nothing against him. In fact, I felt pretty bad for him, and I always did the best I could to help him. I'd get him the wrestling game he wanted, the one he'd take every single time from the store and return and take back again. I did the best I could. But after all that time chasing around the invisible game, I was getting more and more agitated without even realizing it. By the end of my interaction with the poor guy, I was screaming, "It's not there! I can't see it! I don't know where it is! I can't find the game! It's not there!" By that point, my manager grabbed me by the shoulder and told me, "Hey, buddy, it's time to take a cigarette break, huh?" Which struck me as odd because they never told me to go take a cigarette break before. And as I was out back smoking a cigarette, it dawned on me. I just yelled at a mentally handicapped man. Huge thanks for the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What's the most frustrating thing your housemate's ever done? Let us know on the Reddit page linked below and you might be featured in a future countdown. And that's all I got for now. I'm gonna go to the supermarket and ask